And we are live. We're streaming live on my personal Facebook page, my business Facebook page, and my YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nothing But Nugget podcast show. I got a very special guest with me this week. His name is Rod Khleif. Rod Khleif is a multi-family investor slash syndicator. He has a portfolio and assets under management well over 2,000 doors, right?
Yeah, I've owned thousands and thousands of doors. Happy to tell my story if you like. That
Yeah,
might be a
awesome. Awesome.
yeah
Let's get straight into your story.
yeah that might be a better way to intro here because I'll talk about most of the things that you mentioned anyway. Yeah, so Antoine, I actually immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vancha, and we we ended up in Denver, Colorado. I was born in Holland in the Netherlands, and we ended up in Denver where I lived for 30 years. And we grew up struggling. We didn't have very much at all. In fact, my mom, I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I could get a job and buy my own clothes. So they were all hand-me-downs. And I remember my mom babysat a lot of kids. She was a bit of an entrepreneur, and so she would babysit kids with her, right there in the house. And with her babysitting money, she uh, used that and invested it. So she invested in the stock market, but she also bought the house directly across the street from us with her babysitting money when I was about 14 for about $30,000. Um, and this is 1974. And a couple of years later, she told me it had gone up $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? I'm getting into
Wow.
real estate. Forget college. I want to do real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license. And became a broker and thought I was going to get rich selling other people's houses. Made about 8 grand my first year, maybe 10 grand my second year. But my third year, which ended up being about 1981, I made over $100,000, which back then was pretty good money. And so what happened between year two and year three? And that's one of the things that I talk about on my podcast a lot is I met a guy that taught me about mindset and how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset. It's, only, 10 to 20% is, the wholesaling, the flipping, in my case, it's multifamily. I teach people how to do multifamily. And that's only 10 to 20% of it. Most of it is actually taking action with what you learn, getting outside of comfort, and pushing through fear to actually take action with what you learn. So, fast forward to today, I've owned a couple thousand, actually over 3,000 doors now. I've owned 2,000 houses that I rented long term, multiple apartment complexes. We bought 1,000 doors last year. But in 2006, I talked about my mom making 20 grand in her sleep. Well, in 2006, I made $17 million in my sleep. That's how much my portfolio went up that year.
Wow.
And and I got a big head. You want to do the math on it? It's $8,173 an hour. And of course, I did the math, and I thought I was a freaking real estate god. Could barely fit my head through the door. And when that happens, God or the universe, whatever you believe, will give you a smack. Well, that was 2008 for me. I lost that 17 million and a lot more. I lost $50 million in 2008. And so one of the things I enjoy talking about is, again, the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place, and then the mindset it took to get back to the success that I enjoy today. And I'm happy to drill down on that a little more if you'd like, Antoine.
Definitely. Let's go deep into it. Come on.
All right. Well, so the reason I was able to recover and the reason I got it in the first place was I was very clear on what I wanted and very clear on why I wanted it. And so if you guys, if you're streaming on Facebook, if you guys follow my Rod Khleif official page, I did this on January 1st of this year, New Year's Day. I did about an hour and 20 minutes. I did this whole goal setting workshop. In fact, I just did it again this last weekend. I had 900 people on my live stream to watch my 2-day boot camp. And 900 paid registrants. We had about 750 on it, both days, all the time. And I did this goal setting workshop. Now, I'll give you a high level overview of what it is. So if you're listening, you can take notes, and this is something you can absolutely do yourself. But if you want to have me guide you through it with music, just go to my Rod Khleif official page, and it's right there. And there's a guide, a free guide that you can download that you can follow along and all that stuff. But anyway, the thing you want to do to go through this process is, pick an hour when you're uninterrupted and you're not, you're well hydrated, not right after you eat a meal or anything like that. You want high energy. And you just sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. And, the big things, the little things, the houses, the boats, the jet skis, the cars, the planes, the watches, whatever it is, whatever that juices you, write it down. Also write down how much money you want to make from your real estate investing, flipping, wholesaling, whatever it is. How much money you want in the bank, how much cash flow you want from your investments. I'm going to highly encourage you that if you're doing this real estate game and you're wholesaling and flipping, it's a great way to make money, but it is work whereby you use that money and you buy freaking assets, you buy multifamily assets, and at some point you don't have to work anymore. So I'm going to encourage you to use that money to invest in cash flowing assets, and I highly recommend multifamily over single family for those long-term rentals. And ask me how I know. I mean, I've owned 2,000 houses that I rented long-term. And the reason I crashed and burned in 08 was I had 800 houses, and that's what crashed and burned. My apartment complexes did just fine. But, I thought I was brilliant, and I cross-collateralized packages of houses with my apartment complexes, and the whole thing went down. But if I had not done that, I'd still own those apartment complexes because they did just fine through the crash. It was the houses that pulled me down. And so, again, if you're going to buy and hold, at least duplexes, duplex, triplex, fourplex, and if you go larger, but much more recession resistant than single family houses. So write down everything you could want. Also write down, the things you want to do in your lifetime. Maybe you want to climb mountains, maybe you want to write a book, whatever it is. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane about 8 months ago. I'll never do it again, but it's off the list, okay? And so write down what you want to do. Also write down what you want to learn. Maybe you want to learn a foreign language, learn a new skill. If you want to learn multifamily, listen to my podcast. We just broke 8 million downloads. So, I'm doing something right. And, also, even if you don't love multifamily, I do a lot of, I do a motivational clip every week. It's called Own Your Power. In fact, I was just working on one for getting out of a comfort zone, literally before I came on this call with you. That'll be next week's. But the point is, figure out what you want to learn, figure out what you want to do, write all that down. Don't just write the stuff down. Everything you want to do, be, or have. And then also write down who you want to help in your lifetime. We will do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. So you want to use that. Like I bought my parents a house, took them on cruises, bought them a car. Who do you want to do things for? Write that down. Lastly, when you can't think of another thing, actually, what I want you to do is put a time limit on each goal. Put a 1, a 3, a 5, a 10, even a 20 for how many years it's going to take you to achieve it. And recognize that it's human nature to overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can accomplish in 5, 10, 20 years. I'll give you an example of this. When I was 18, I knew I wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver. Okay, so I would visualize palm trees and surf and sand, and 20 years later, I built this incredible mansion on the beach. It was 8,000 square feet, $8 million, 10,000 square feet, $8 million property. It was unthinkable when I was 18. So again, take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you'll get it, which is not outside the realm of reality, because just by regularly associating with your goals, what it does is it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And that's that filter that subconsciously points you in the direction of what subconsciously your brain thinks is important to you. The greatest example of this is when you first buy a car. You don't really notice them, and then when you buy them, you see them everywhere.
Right.
Were they there before? Of course they were. And so that's your reticular activating system. And the same thing works for your goals. So once you've got a time limit written on each goal, and don't overthink it, just guess at a number, then I want you to pick your number one goal. I mean, that goal that, oh my God, when you get it, you're like, holy cow, this is incredible. And then that goal, and put it on a separate sheet of paper. Then also get your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. So you've got 4 goals on a separate sheet of paper. Leave some room in between them. Now, at this point, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do a New Year's resolution that gets forgotten by February. But you need to take it a couple steps further. The goals are important. They will push you, they'll pull you, they'll drive you, but it's why the goals are an absolute must that is the real fuel. the real fuel to get you to get outside your comfort zone, like I said, which is what I'm working on right now, to push through fear. We all have fears and limiting beliefs. To push through all that, it's the why is the most important piece. So write down a paragraph why they're an absolute must. Things like, so I can show my wife or husband what success looks like. So I can show our kids what it means to be successful. So we can be free. Free to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, with whoever we want, whatever it is for you. And I'm going to suggest that you use emotionally charged words like incredible and amazing and massive and beautiful. Words are very powerful. So use them when you're writing your description of your whys. Once you've got your positive reasons why, I want you to put some pain in there if you don't achieve the goal. Make it freaking painful. So you might say, so if you don't achieve the goal, so I don't live a life of regret. So I'm not a failure. So I don't fail my wife or husband. So I don't fail my kids. Make it painful, because as human beings, we'll do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And you want to use that as fuel. So you got your positive reasons why those goals are a must, and you've also got some pain if you don't achieve them. You don't want to have any regrets. There was this nurse in Australia named Bronnie Ware. She was a hospice nurse. And she counseled hospice patients at the end of their lives. And she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. The number one regret, Antoine, was not living up to my potential, living someone else's life, not doing what I knew I could have done. I say, screw that, guys. We do not want regrets. So these whys will prevent that from happening. And then lastly, once you've got your reasons why, it is critical that you get pictures of your goals. I'm going to give you some examples for me of how I used visualization to get what I wanted. And I'll give you some public examples as well. So it's not just writing the goals. You need to associate with these goals. And so, I'll give you a great example. Jim Carrey, the actor, wrote himself a check for $10 million when he was flat broke. And just from his own account, just wrote it to himself, and he would look at it. He'd go up by the Hollywood sign, he'd look at it and visualize cashing it. And that's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. I'll give you a more recent example. Demi Lovato, when she was just getting going 10 years ago, announced on social media that she was going to sing in the Super Bowl. She sang in this last Super Bowl. Yeah, so I'll give you some of my personal examples. So, back when I was 18, I was going to be a real estate broker, and I was going to sell people houses. So I got this 4-door car because I figured you'd have to have a 4-door car to have people get in and out and show them houses. So I got this bone ugly freaking Ford Granada, ugliest thing you've ever saw, bench seat in the front. But I worked with a guy that owned some Corvettes, and he let me drive one of the Corvettes. And I'm like, holy shit, this is what I want. So I got a picture out of a magazine of a Corvette. This is before the internet. Got it out of a magazine, and I taped it to the visor of my Granada. So every time I got in the car, it was right there in front of me.
Right.
Within a year or two, I had a Corvette. I'll give you a couple other examples, but I want to pre-frame this by saying this is not me bragging. Okay. In fact, this stuff doesn't even interest me anymore. But this was back when the TV show Magnum PI was out. It was probably before you were born, Antoine. But the actor's name was Tom Selleck, and I
was born '88, so I don't even recall the show like that.
This was before then, and the actor's name was Tom Selleck, and he drove this Ferrari 308, and I thought that was the coolest freaking thing I'd ever seen. And so I got a picture of that actual car out of a magazine and put it on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it. Last example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. I had posters in my bedrooms it was Lamborghini Countach. Remember Mike Tyson got one for him and Robin, I think it was Robin Givens, his wife, for like 2 weeks. They each had matching Lamborghinis. And
Mike Tyson had a crazy calculation. I do remember that.
And so what's crazy is my son collected models of exotic cars, and he had a model of he had like 30 of them. And he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I ended up getting, which I wrecked, but that's another story. But the bottom line is, guys, these pictures work. In fact, let me show you something. This is my planner. Okay, it's on today, and it's on.
That looked like my wife's planner. She old school like that. She used the planner. I use the phone.
Right. Well, I'm old school. I use Outlook as well. In the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here 20 years. Okay. The first pictures are my gratitude pictures. Everything starts from a place of gratitude. These are my kids when they were very young. These have been in here 20 years, okay? Next is the houses that I wanted. This top picture looks just like the view I had at my house on the beach. The floors are the same. They're travertine floors. This is before I built it. This bottom picture looks just like my compound that I live in now. I lost that house on the beach. I live in a compound now. It's got 5 buildings, 6 buildings, giant main house, 2-bedroom guest house, a media center where I have a video studio now. I filmed this weekend my live stream. I've got a giant exercise facility, 5 cars and garages, storage. I mean, it's just incredible. What's crazy is it looks like this bottom picture. You know, and I've got other stuff in here. It's crazy. This is before I ever had this stuff. You know, stupid shit like watches. I got a few $100,000 worth of watches. Lamborghini before I ever got it. Okay, that's the style even. The Rolls Royce, the Bentley. All this stuff that I got because I had pictures. So that's the last thing, guys. Get pictures of your goals. Put them around you so that, you know, so that they get into your psyche and you see them. If you looked around where I'm at now, you'd see pictures of the things that matter to me now, and because they work. So that's a process that will get you to take action. You know, the knowledge, yes, you need to know it, but if it was just the knowledge, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there. It's the do, and it's the keep doing that brings your success. So anyway, that's that.
That's amazing. So let's get into some stuff that I had pre-thought out that I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Like losing $50 million. Like I know a lot of people, if they were to lose $50 million, they'd probably jump on the train tracks, you know, and take themselves about it. That's a lot of mental strain.
A lot of
what
people,
was the
yeah, in the Great Depression, people lost a lot less than that comparatively to today's dollar and jumped out of buildings. Okay, and so yeah, it was tough. And what got me out of it was focusing on what I wanted again. You know, it was really easy for me to feel sorry for myself because I thought I was set for life. I had 800 houses that were rented. I had multiple apartment complexes. Antoine, I was at a 30% loan to value. If you don't know what that means, I only owed 30 cents on the freaking
and that's why I'm trying to wrap my head around.
Right, let me explain why it happened. Because I get this question all the time. If you were only at 30% loan to value, you didn't owe that much, how come you couldn't make it work? Well, here's why. My 800 houses were 2 hours north of me and 2 hours south of me and everywhere in between. Okay, a very big geographic area. Logistically horrible, okay, to manage single family. Because, for example, if I had a maintenance issue at one of my apartment complexes, all the plumbing parts are the same, the locks are the same, the appliances are the same, HVAC is the same, so we can stockpile parts. I can send a maintenance guy there, be in and out in an hour, boom, done, fixed it. If I got to send somebody to a house that's an hour and a half north of here, they got to go to the house and see what's wrong because every house is different. Then they got to go find a Home Depot or a Lowe's, which could be 30 minutes away. You know, they've already eaten up 4 hours. Okay. Then, you know, if you've ever fixed anything like me, you get into it and you're like, oh crap, I need to go back. I missed something. And that happens with maintenance guys as well. And what takes an hour at one of my apartment complexes takes all day at one of my 800 houses. And these were C-class assets. So it was a lot of maintenance. That ate my lunch. Also, here in Florida, there's no state income tax. So property taxes are higher than elsewhere in the country. Also, I had properties in flood and wind zones, which is much higher insurance, which all this stuff impacts cash flow, guys. But the coup de grace, the thing that cut my head off was a lot of my residents were contractors. They were plumbers, electricians, drywallers, painters, roofers, you know, you name it. And that fell off a freaking cliff in 2008. There was no work, period. And so that was, and then you want to know what's crazy is, yes, I was at a 30% loan to value in 2007. By 2009, I went underwater. That's how much the value dropped. It dropped more than 70% in my portfolio.
It's crazy, man. That's crazy. Right. So like you got to that point, you know, you lost everything, and then the road to just like bouncing back. Cause like I ain't never seen nobody bounce back like this, like with so much confidence.
Listen, I was under a rock for a few months. You know, all you see is freaking eyeball poking out, feeling sorry for myself. You know, but I reassociated with what I wanted, and it came back much further, much faster, because I was much more knowledgeable. You know, and so I built a company, a litigation support company, helped thousands of families save their homes. Sold that last year, turned into a $10 million business, 60 employees. You know, and you know, and it's all about pivoting, Antoine. You know, I'll give you a great example of this. You know, like right now we're going through some real hell. Okay, we are. There are a lot of people suffering right now. A lot of businesses going out of business. There are going to be incredible freaking opportunities in real estate. But you know, I was on track to have 700 people in Orlando this last weekend. It was my event was
I
booked, and
was supposed to come there. I actually just went on and got the tickets to the weekend virtual event. And it was pretty amazing. You did a hell of a job. I think you should have charged more, in my opinion.
well, yeah, well, that's okay. But so I had to pivot. I had to pivot. And so literally we threw up a website in 2 days. The video on the website, which is multifamilyvirtualbootcamp.com, was me in my backyard freaking shooting a video, yelling at my wife to hold the paper. And I mean, we put this thing together. We were just talking about it this morning. We had coffee out on by the guest house, and I was remembering, you know, how fast we moved, and I apologized to her for being so irritable when I had her hold the sheet for me to record that video. But you know, and then we had 900 people pay to register for that thing. We had, you know, about 720 on most of the time, and it works. And guys, you know, if you're suffering right now, if you're going through hell right now, first of all, keep going, because there's a
Right.
light at the end of that tunnel. Number one, and you know, I've got a sign on my desk here. Let me grab it. It says, "It's Winston Churchill. Never, ever, 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 ever freaking give up." Okay. And so just, you know, and you might have to reinvent yourself. You might have to learn a new skill set from Antoine here, or for me, if you're interested in multifamily, learn a new skill set. By the way, I'll give a gift to your listeners, watchers. I wrote a book. It's a bestseller on Amazon, and I gave away 20,000 copies before I put it on Amazon. Finally, my team's like, "Hey, stupid, let's put it on Amazon, make some money." So it's on Amazon now. But I wrote a new book. It's like it's only for apartments, so it's not. If you're interested in multifamily, definitely get this thing. If you're just doing houses, cool, you don't need it. But if you're interested in multifamily, it's free. It's 70 pages. It's every question you'd ever want to ask when you're evaluating an apartment or even a duplex, whatever it is. And just text my name, Rod, to 41411. Rod to 41411. You get it for free, and it's awesome. It's not some fluffy try to sell you
Yeah,
shit piece.
4141. I'm about to put in the comments.
Yeah, it's Rod. Text Rod to 41411, and I'll get it to you. And it's really a quality piece. I'm real proud of it. But anyway, and I hope you check out my podcast. It's called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. And if you put real estate in your iPhone, I usually come up number 1 or 2 behind Bigger Pockets. So you know, I think you'll really enjoy it. I keep it really, really high level, motivational. You know, we go deep too, but yeah. So any other questions?
Could you give some advice to, you know, I'm a residential guy looking to convert over to multifamily. I
Yeah.
started in real estate thinking I was going to do multifamily, then realized, shit, I don't have no $2-3 million to put down these properties. So now I'm
Well,
ready to make that leap of faith.
all right. Let me say this to you. Yes, you need money to buy apartment buildings, but it does not have to be your own money. Multifamily real estate is a team sport, and you can find people with money. You find the deals, and you're competent enough about the business that you have the confidence, you'll be able to influence people to invest with you. And I can tell you that it doesn't take your own money. I mean, I know this sounds like a, you know, buy real estate for no money down bunch of baloney, but it's not. That's absolutely not the case. If you have the knowledge and your ability to influence people, there's a lot of money looking for deals, and you in fact, I tell people that have a lot of money in their bank accounts, students, you know, people that watch the boot camp, and students of mine that have a lot of money, don't use your money for the deals. Bring in the money. Use your money to tie up a property, you know, put the due diligence money up, to, you know, do your inspections, to pay for the legal work, to pay for the financing
Right.
costs, get your reports, all of which you'll get back from the deal if you raise the money. So I'm here to tell you, you don't need a lot of money to do this business. What you need is the knowledge. So that's important.
So someone new starting out, right? That's trying to make that jump from residential to commercial. What are a few steps that you can point them into the right direction to make that transition?
First of all, you've got to educate yourself. I don't care if it's with me, but you've got to do it. I mean, I sold the boot camp this weekend for $97, and it was drinking through. Was it drinking through a freaking fire hose?
Oh man, I'm still going through some of the content, right?
Right. So you know, and I've got another one coming up August 29th and 30th. You know, a few months out, but you know, it's You got to educate yourself. Bottom line, there's a lot of free content out there. Listen to my podcast. I mean, tons of free content there. Go to my website. I've got videos, I've got articles, I've got books. All of it's free. Go to my website, get the content there. I mean, if you're ready to go and you want to get started quicker and you want coaching or mentorship, I offer that, and you could certainly reach out to us for that. Just go to my website, rodkhleif.com, and there's a mentor with Rod, or you could go to mentorwithrod.com. That's the website
Right.
to talk to my team about our mentorship. But the point is, you've got to educate yourself, period, because dabblers get their butts kicked. Okay, you can't be a dabbler. Okay, and that's even if you're going to invest passively in somebody's deal. Do not do it unless you understand the business. So many people give their money to stockbrokers, and trillions got lost there, or they'll give their money to a real estate operator to loan them or get in on a deal. And you don't give your hard-earned money to someone unless you have a basic understanding of what the hell you're getting into. So,
Right.
Educate yourself. So that's the number one thing, is focus on your education, and then you got to push through fear to actually take action. Those are my two big tips.
Awesome. So, what do you see yourself like in the next 5 years? Like, are you trying to scale to get more units, or are you
Sure.
more?
We bought 1,000. We bought 1,000 doors with our students last year. We're on track to double that this year, and we bring our students in on deals and stuff. And so, we're doing that. And so we're actively buying. We have 3 assets that we're negotiating. 2 were under contract before the crash. We're renegotiating and getting discounts on those properties because they're warranted with the risk associated with deals right now. So we got $1.5 million off one. We're getting a few $100,000 off another. So. No, we're very actively buying for sure. The name of that company is REM Capital, remcapital.com. But so no, we're very actively buying. If you're an accredited investor, if you're listening, you're an accredited investor, reach out to me because these are screaming deals.
So I gotta ask this question because I'm a married man myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
How important it is to have a spouse to support you throughout your entrepreneurial journey? Does that have any impact on where you at today, or?
I'm married to one of the most beautiful women on the planet on the outside, but I'm beyond blessed because she's even more beautiful on the inside, so she's incredibly supportive, she's a freaking rock star. She really is. She was a former model, but she's brilliant. I mean, her ideas are just off the chain brilliant, and she's like my biggest confidant. And and I will tell you that if I hadn't lost everything in 2008, I never would have met her. And I will tell you, I'd give it all up again for her, and I mean that sincerely. So I truly live my life to make her happy, and it makes for a world-class freaking relationship when you live your life that way. And when you mutually support each other and you go to the relationship to give, not to get, that's a world-class freaking relationship, as you
I
know.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I heard you talking like about way before the coronavirus on how you like to overfund your deals by keeping big heavy reserves. Um, how,
Yes, what we do, it's called, it's in this, even before. I mean, we'd have $1 million sitting in an operating account, just a SHTF, fund, just in case something happens. We raised I mean, we got a deal in Cincinnati. We're almost done raising money for, and we've got $1 million we're setting aside on that one. So we're very, very conservative. I mean, listen. Hit me once, shame on you. Hit me twice, shame on me. Okay, I lost $50 million. That shit's not happening again, Antoine. Okay, so I'm very conservative, and like we stress test our deals. So what I mean by that is we won't buy a deal unless we can break even at about 30 to 35% vacant day one. Okay, so we can be like the Cincinnati deal. We can be at 65% occupied and still break even. Okay, that's the kind of deal I do. Yes. So that's called stress testing.
I mean, I know it makes you sleep well at night knowing that you have liquidity. And
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to answer some questions real quick because I know you got to get
Yeah,
out of here in the next minute.
I'm gonna run out pretty quick, but let's blow through something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maria asked, if you were starting all over again, 2020, what knowledge would you have now? What would you be focusing on, and how would you do it?
Well, I mean, obviously I've got a pretty deep knowledge base. So, that's probably not the greatest question because not very many people have the experience and the knowledge that I have. But if a better question for me might be, if you're brand new and you're watching this and you don't know what to do next, again, educate yourself for God's sakes, because it doesn't take money. This business doesn't take money. Even single family doesn't. My God, I bought tens of millions of dollars worth of property when I was your age, Antoine, 50-50 with partners in joint ventures. They put up the money. I fixed it. I found it. I managed it. I sold it. And we held on to a lot of them. And everybody was happy. So you can do that right now, but you've got to have the confidence to be congruent when you're talking to people and influence them. And that comes from competence. And competence comes from learning. So you got to learn. That's it.
Right. And some quick underwriting techniques, like what deals that you won't touch, and what deals, like what's your sweet spot? Like what's the ideal deal for Rod?
Everything's about cash on cash return for us. Cap rate doesn't
Okay.
matter. All about how much money can we make on our money. Okay. So cash on cash means if we put $100,000 of our money in a deal, forget that, it'll have debt and everything else with it. But if we got 100 grand in the deal, how much money of that 100 grand do we get back every year? So if it's 10,000, it's 10% cash on cash on a yearly basis, and that's our absolute minimum. So 10% is our absolute minimum, and that's what we look for.
Right. And what are some words of encouragement you can leave somebody right now? Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they. I know a lot of people I talk to. They've been stuck in the real estate, just studying it for 2-3 years, and they haven't jumped off the porch to kind of make a move.
Freaking action, for God's sakes, and that do my goal setting, because that's what'll get you off square one. If you analyze this business, here's the thing: have no regrets, okay? And stop fearing failure. Fear being in the same freaking place next year that you are right now, unless you love where you are right now. If you don't love where you are right now, then don't fear failing. Fear, not moving forward. We fail our way to success, Antoine. And I will tell you, I've built 24 businesses. I call them seminars instead of failures. I've built 24 businesses. 3 have been worth tens of millions of dollars. Most of the rest have been spectacular, flaming seminars. Okay. But we fail our way to success. That's it. And so that's what I would tell you. Stop fearing failure and just go take freaking action. Continue your knowledge, continue to learn, continue to grow, build relationships, and take action. It's okay if you screw up. It's okay. You're not going to lose the place over your head. You're going to have food to eat. Period. Just go do it, because there's nothing worse than regret.
Man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you got a million things to do.
No, it's all good, friend. I'm glad we were able to connect. And if you guys, again, if you're interested, reach out to me. Go to my website. Lots of free stuff for you, and just go take action. And guys, what you focus on is what gets larger. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. That's critical. Focus on the things that you want, because whatever you focus on is going to get bigger. It would have been very easy for me to focus on loss back then, but I focused on what I wanted again. I reassociated with my goals. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war, and she said, no, I'm pro-peace.
Right.
Difference?
Yeah, definitely a difference. All right. Appreciate you, Rod. Thank you so much.
You bet, my friend. Take care. All right. See you. Bye.
Okay, see you.